post-match chat with Chaps for that Millwall podcast. Special one today. I'm going to review both the Millwall game and the England game. Slightly hungover, I won't lie. but yeah, unfortunately, neither of our Lions teams could go and get the job done yesterday. So I'll start off with the Millwall game. Finished Millwall 1, Wigan Athletic 1 in Kolo Touré's first game managing Wigan. I said this before, we always seem to play teams that have either just about sacked their manager or teams that have just hired a new manager and it's their first game, obviously, with Rossini against Hull. Start out with a team that played the match. So he made two changes. He brought Hutch back in for Charlie Cresswell, which I think was an obvious one given the fact that you play Hutch if he's fit, and Cresswell had a bit of a mare on against Sunderland. And in the other game was a slightly more attacking option, bringing Mason Bennett in for George Honeyman. Bennett had a really good cameo appearance against Sunderland. I thought the first sort of... Well, we didn't start, did we? For those of you that watched the game, George Long was called into action after about 30 seconds and made a really good save, to be fair to him. Which, just before I go on about the game, I think there was a lot of people that expected Bart to come back in, me included, but he decided not to change things. And initially, I thought Long should have done better with their goal, but I think having watched it back, I don't think he could have done much about it, to be honest, considering the conditions. So I don't think he did much wrong, and he's not the reason we didn't win the game. Put it that way. Anyway, so we started off really slow, I felt, and it took us time to grow into the game. And Wigan went 1-0 up. They didn't deserve to go 1-0 up, but they probably didn't deserve to be behind or anything. And they went 1-0 up through a very fortuitous goal. Will Keane scoring a deflected effort that bounced nicely for him, and George Long would have really committed the other way. So they went 1-0 up, and then again the first half we were okay in glimpses. We didn't really do too much, I didn't think. And then a moment of magic. So I have to say, all round from the goal was absolutely fantastic. The ball in from Danny Mack was superb. It was a deliberate ball. You see him look up, spot Bradshaw, plays it into Bradshaw. Bradshaw's awareness to then chest it perfectly to Fleming, first time on the volley into the bottom corner. That was a superb goal. Probably one of the best goals we've scored all season. A really, really well-worked goal. And a deliberately well-worked goal. And, we're going to have to do more of this if we're going to win games, because we rely too much on set pieces, which I'll come on to in a moment. So, second half, we huffed and puffed, by far the better team. But ultimately, we didn't create enough to win the game. The referee was diabolical towards the second half. I thought he was right in the first half. I didn't notice him, which is all you can ask for. But did we do enough to win the game? Probably not, to be honest. And I think if you look at the results of the league yesterday, I always thought it was going to be a bit of an odd one. Let's be honest, the weather does not help. You don't know what mentality and fitness teams are coming back in after teams hadn't played for a while. Yes, we should have had the upper hand there, but evidently we didn't. But then you had the Kolo Touré effect in terms of being the new manager. And I'll be honest, I expected us to draw yesterday. I genuinely did. We should be beating teams like Wigan at home. I would be very surprised if they're not in the bottom four, whether they narrowly miss relegation or they go down. But we've got to be beating teams like Wigan at home. To be fair to Wigan, I think they acquitted themselves fairly well. They defended fairly well. I think they've got two players that are very, very good. Callum Lang and Max Power, very, very good players. And the young lad up front they've got on loan from someone in the Premier League. I don't know who. He looked quite handy. Obviously Will Keane, he looked good, but I don't really know how, because I've seen him play before and he was dire. But there you go. So, fair play to Wigan. They did all right. They were organised. You can see what Kolo Touré's trying to do. But with the greatest respect, at home, we've got to be winning these games. And we didn't. And then it kind of brings me on to some of the talking points I want to talk about from the game that we need to address. So I'll talk about some of the players, first of all. Murray Wallace, what has happened? He was torn to shreds. And that is the one thing for me, because I'll come on to talk about the subs in a minute, that Rowett genuinely got wrong. Why he did not bring Malone on, maybe I'd have started Malone. That's another conversation. Why he didn't bring Malone on when Murray Wallace had been carded in sort of 60 minutes and Lang still absolutely had him in his pocket? I don't know. I don't quite understand that. Yes, I know he brought Bury on, but is that a real defensive mentality to think, well, I can't bring Malone, who's an attacking left back, and Bury on? Is he more too scared to lose the game than he is to win the game? But I thought Murray Wallace was terrible, to be honest, and he is way below what we expect of him, and I would imagine what he expects of himself. It was a stupid booking to give away. He just got too close to him, and the bloke turned him, and he felt he had no option. So I thought he was really poor, actually, and I thought he was the worst player on the pitch. And I love him. I think he's he embodies what Millwall is all about, but he's just not up to it in a minute, and we need to make a change there. We can't have players put in individual performances like that. In terms of positivity, I don't think anyone else had a bad game. If I'm being really honest, I couldn't pick one out and go, oh, you know what, they didn't play well or they were poor, other than Murray. And it might sound like I'm digging him out, but I'm not. Trust me, I'm a big fan of his. I thought Hutch was a bit shaky at times, but probably to be expected. But other than that, I thought everyone was all right. I don't know. It was a weird one for me, and I don't know if it's because I've had too many beers since then. But I look back on the game and I don't really know what else to say, to be honest. We huffed and puffed, but we didn't create enough. And this goes on to the sort of second point I want to talk about, was the options he brought on from the bench. He brought on what he had. And when you look at it, it's nothing. The only thing I will say, because it sounds like I'm defending Rowett here, and to a point I am, is obviously Afobe's injured. But the only other thing I would say is, where's Olafe? Where's that Romain essay? You know, where are these youngsters? Yes, all right, they may not be ready. You know, and Rowett talks about like they need to be able to do the off the ball work as well as the on the ball work, because he's talked about that with Abdul Malik and Essay. But we're trying to win the game. You should be more about the damage they can inflict on the other team than, oh, he's got trapped back, which I totally get. If we're winning, right, then you don't bring on a 17-year-old who doesn't know how to manage the game properly. But we're trying to win the game, and he needs to have options on the bench. With the greatest respect, I like Shackleton. You don't bring him on as a way to try and win the game. And where's Olafe? Just disappeared. We don't see it in training. Maybe he's not up to it. I don't know. But in absence of anyone else, I thought the changes he made, Bury, for whatever reason, couldn't really get into the game. I don't think there was a space for him. And he's not the sort of player to take the game by a scruff of the neck, is he? And in Honeyman, I'm going to contradict myself here. He's not a right winger. But then he played very well against us for Hull and Joe Zampa. You know exactly what I'm talking about, as a right winger. So I don't know. We're just missing something. Vogie needs to get into the game more. He missed an absolute sitter actually in the first half. To be fair, it was a sitter. He should have done better with that. But yeah, it's we need to bring in some attacking quality. I mean, I talked about this after the Sunderland game, and it remains unchanged. And my concern is we've now got the next game that I should be able to go to, the next home game, which I'm buzzing about, which is on the 29th against Bristol City. We've got 2 away games against Luton and Watford before then, and we could be very well going into the Bristol City game with no wins in 4. Because if we play like that against teams that are better going forwards, you know, we could be punished. Alternatively, we'll probably turn up and beat both of them teams because they're decent sides. So this is Millwall for you, right? And you look at some of the results yesterday from other teams and up and down the country, and you know, you look at Blackburn, for example. We can't really. It's a long season, and yes, the last 2 results have been disappointing, and I think the performances have. But yeah, it's an odd one. In terms of man of the match yesterday, again, difficult. I don't think anyone was amazing. I think everything we did well came through Fleming. And I also think that Bradshaw, I mean, I dread to think how many miles he runs in a game. It always comes up in the World Cup on the stats. I'm pointing on my telly, I don't know why, because you've got no idea what that is. But always comes up on the telly, the amount the players have run. And I'd love to see Bradshaw's stats. I'm sure someone's out there's got them. Mickey's probably yelling at the screen saying that we have. But yeah, so I'd probably give it to Fleming. It's a superb goal. Yeah, he had a couple of other opportunities. Everything we did positive went through him. So, and I've slagged him a bit recently. So I'll give it to Fleming. The guy is just, he uses class. He really does. So yeah, I think ultimately, to sum up, draw was probably a fair result. I don't agree with the boos at the end of the game, by the way. I don't think the players could have done much more. I just don't think they're up to it, to be honest. I just we need to find ways of breaking teams down, and we don't have the options off the bench to change things. We need to score and create more chances from open play. We're relying too much on set pieces, and if we don't get a goal from one of them, we're kind of screwed. We're not going to score 2 goals from open play in a game, and we need to address in January for sure. Wide man and a mobile target man. Right, that's it for the Millwall game. England game, I'll just quickly summarise. I won't go into too much detail. I just thought I'd just share my view whilst I'm rattling on anyway. Again, it's a weird one, and it might be because by the time the game finished, I was very merry, shall we say. But I honestly don't think we could have done that much more. I thought we were by far the better team, by far. And it's weird because we actually didn't score from open play, and they did twice. So it's a bit weird to say that. But we created a lot more opportunities, shots on target, more possession, all of the stats that you would normally look at to define who was on top during the game. But ultimately, they scored 2 and we scored 1. And it really is as simple as that. The obvious thing to talk about is Kane's penalty miss. Look, Kane, I'm not going to ever sit here and slag Harry Kane, and I don't think anyone should. To have the balls to take 2 penalties in a World Cup and in a game that means so much, and to score both would have been absolutely fantastic. But he's done so much for this country, and obviously in his free sprint stint at Millwall, I'm not going to slag him, and I can assure you he probably feels worse than any of us. So I'm not going to slag him. I think it's a missed opportunity because I genuinely think France will now go on to win it. And the most frustrating thing for me is that's a France team with arguably 3 of their best players not even in it. And Kante, Pogba and Benzema would all been in that starting lineup if they were all fit. Now, incidentally, Giroud has probably had a superb tournament. And although he didn't do much in the game yesterday, he comes up with a vital moment. Very underrated Giroud. And I think he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. In terms of our players, I thought Bellingham had a good game again. He's a real leader for 19 as well. Like, you know, he just I can't describe it, but if he carries on and he doesn't let it get too much to him, and the media look after him and we look after him, he is going to be the best player in the world. He really will. But there's a lot of things that have to fall in place for that to happen. But I thought he had a good game and a great tournament. I thought our best player on the night was Saka. I didn't think they could deal with him. I really don't. And then he took him off for Sterling, who's hardly played at all, instead of bringing Rashford on first. If you're going to take Saka off, which you shouldn't, but if he's injured or he's run out of juice, then Rashford should come on for me over Sterling. I didn't get that one at all from Southgate. But I thought Saka was our best player, and to be honest, the best player on the pitch, I felt. But in the end of the day, it wasn't enough. And it's gutting because I guess as a Millwall fan, it's rare that you play another really good team. We didn't batter them, but we were by far the better team. And then you lose the game and you genuinely feel like you should have won. That's not a thing that happens for Millwall fans, because it's just not like the way we play under Rowett. So it's rare that happens. So it's frustrating, and it really is a missed opportunity, because this crop of players are, I think, the best we've had in a long time. And if they stick together, again, it'd probably be England-France that the two teams that play out in the Euros, won't it? The only other thing I would say is, and I'll leave this as a talking point, and again, it's just my opinion, so feel free to disagree or agree in the comments, and I need to choose my words carefully here. I rate Phil Foden, but I do not think he is as good as what people make him out to be. I don't really see what he's done in this tournament, personally. I know he scored a goal, fair enough, but in terms of like last night, I felt we went missing for a lot of the night. And again, maybe I'd had a few too many, and I was watching a different game than everyone else. So I'd be really intrigued to see what you think. He's a very good player and a great prospect, and if Pep rates him, then he must be good. And for Man City, superb. But for England in this tournament, I don't think he's done that much. There was a lot of people crying out for him to start. He didn't obviously start the first game or two. He did, but against France in particular, I thought he was a player that could have offered more yesterday. Another thing on the England game as well was that I felt the game plan worked to begin with. I think that Mbappe was quiet. He didn't have a shot on target, by the way. I lost a bet on that. But I thought that Southgate actually set the team up correctly. I don't agree with his subs. I've already mentioned that. And I think if we would have used them more effective, then who knows. But I think we played well. We were a better team. We reduced the threat of their main player. I thought Griezmann had a good game for them. And obviously Giroud, vital moments. But I haven't mentioned the referee up to this point, and I'm not going to go into too much about it because ultimately he's given us 2 penalties in the end. I do think he was poor, and I do think that it was a foul on Saka for the build-up to their first goal. But I think 40 seconds had gone by then. And the players have to defend better. They have to stop Griezmann, and they have to stop the shot getting off. I think that's the only thing I would say, to be honest with you. And similar for the second goal. We could have defended better. But other than that, I thought the players were great. And it's just one of those things. And you would never really bet on Harry Kane missing from the spot, would you? So one of those things, frustrating. But I thought it was just worth mentioning that. So just some food for thought. If you've got to the end of this video, then you must be on the carsy, or you must be out for a walk, because I don't understand why you listen to me ramble for over 15 minutes. But me and the boys really do appreciate it. So please do like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do. Remember, it's just my opinions. Everyone's entitled to their own. That's what football's all about. So I hope you enjoy your Sunday, your Monday, whenever it is you're listening to this, and looking forward to Christmas now. But unfortunately, the boys couldn't give us what we wanted yesterday, and we roll on to Luton away next week. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.